Okay. All right. All right, I'll wait a few minutes. Okay. Let's see if a couple people here drop down to one. Can anyone hear me? I just want to make sure because I'm looking at OBS and like everything looks okay on my end. I just wanted to make sure. Okay. Night at Slayer. Can you hear me just fine? I've turned off the sound on my end. So okay, all right. Everyone can hear me. Okay, awesome. Okay, so this is a first. I've never actually tried. I mean, I've used OBS before, but I've never actually tried doing a live stream like this before. So okay, awesome. So great, 4 people watching. Awesome. All right, perfect. Because we actually start off with 4 questions from 4 different people. So, okay, so welcome Night at Slayer, welcome Rain, welcome Winter, and welcome Super Samus. I know all of you guys are regulars, so heck, I'm happy you guys are here first. You guys are always awesome. So let's get started. I'm just gonna knock these first 4 questions out first, and then once those are out, the floor is just open for anyone to just throw in your questions, and then heck, I'll just answer them as I go because I can see them on my main screen here, and I'm gonna have my questions on my second screen here. As some of you guys know, I recently upgraded to a triple screen setup. So there's a screen here, a screen here, and a screen here. So let me just get these first set of questions out first, and then heck, the floor is up to everybody. Hey, what's up, Zach? What's up? Okay, so here we go. So the first question, surprisingly, came from Zach. And you want to know, so what do I think of the claim that Chris Redfield is the deadliest fighter in Resident Evil? And it's based mostly on his victory over Wesker, and Wesker is the most deadliest fighter in Resident Evil. Okay, well, here's my answer to that. I think it's a little bit ridiculous that people call him the most deadliest fighter, and they forget that he could not have done that without Sheva. I think his claim would have been a little bit better if he had done it completely by himself. But every time that he has fought Wesker by himself, he typically ends up getting his ass handed to him. So this notion that he is the greatest fighter, I think, is false. And on top of that, I do think that, I'd say in some cases Leon is a little bit on par with him. I think Chris is definitely one of the most proficient fighters in Resident Evil, but the deadliest, has he ever actually killed someone with his martial skills techniques? Absolutely not. Most of his kills have been done with firearms or weapons. So, no, I do not believe that claim that he is the greatest, deadliest fighter in Resident Evil. I don't even think he's the deadliest fighter in just the main set of protagonist characters. I think there's other people that are a little bit better than Chris Redfield. So no, I don't buy that notion that Chris Redfield is the deadliest fighter in Resident Evil. So the next question comes from these next 3 are all from new people, not regulars. So that surprised me the most. But they come from Toria. They can't really pronounce his last name, but he wanted to know, do I read any of my comments in my older videos? And okay, there was actually an error with his question, but he basically gave me this. He said there was an error with his first comment, but he commented on one of my older versus matchups, and he tried to explain why he thought that, I believe, Connor had the physical edge over Edward. I don't think he was aware that I was actually using both of these guys at about the same age. I think he assumed I was using Edward at the end of his life when he was about 42, but I was using him at his prime age during the time period of the game, and therefore they're more or less about the same age. So that's why I said, just in quick sense, that I think that Connor and Edward would have been equal in terms of physical capabilities. It's not. I think that's what that was all about. Next question came from Sal, and he wanted to know what were my thoughts on Henry Cavill not being Superman and the DC series being rebooted. Okay, Hellish. I see your question. I just want to knock these 4 ones that I got out first, and then I'm gonna look at the list and then start answering questions one by one. I am a little bit saddened that Henry Cavill will no longer be Superman because I think that he was a great Superman. I had a lot of fun with Man of Steel. It's probably my second favorite Superman film behind only the Donner cut of Superman 2. It is unfortunate the DC French, the DC cinematic universe, as they call it, is being rebooted, but I think that it is the right decision because it's in such a bad state right now. I think that if James Gunn wants to start over fresh with just a clean slate with a dedicated 10-year plan of we're going to do these films, these films, these films, and then do an event film like that, we just copy the Marvel format, which I'm perfectly fine with. If they want to do that, I think it's best to just blow it all up. That way, no one is confused. So it's a sad decision, but it's a tough decision. But I think that if you really want to get this franchise in the right direction, it needs to be done. So I really hope that they bring some of these actors back and have them play different roles. But I'm totally okay with them kind of blowing it up. However, I am aware that I believe that Robert Pattinson's Batman is in its own separate universe, so that's not going to be affected. So, yeah. Next question, and the last question that was sent to me came from Broken Limit, and he wanted to know, have I ever thought about getting into anime? Okay. Well, I am into anime. I just got done watching a few series just last week, and I'll be honest, I've been having a little bit of trouble with time management with like the little time I have with free time because I've been just playing the hell out of Persona 4 Golden like crazy. Like I got home this morning at I think 2:30 in the morning, and I played Persona 4 for like 6 hours straight again, which I did the previous night, and then I passed out, and then I just woke up like an hour ago. So that's why I like kind of like get all dressed up and wipe down. Like the trick with games like that is that I have a hard time trying to put it down. So yeah, I'm into anime. If people want me to talk more about anime, I have no problems doing that. Okay, so that knocks out the 4 main questions that were sent to me in the community section. So I'm just going to answer Hellish's question, and then the floor is open to everybody to send in your questions, and I'll try to just keep track of all of them and answer them in order. So, Hellish's production. Your question: what made me want to start a YouTube channel? Okay. What actually made me start wanting to do my own channel was I had just gotten out of college. This was back in 2011, and I really wasn't doing much with my life. Back at that time, I was very, very slow. Now I'd actually had a background in broadcast journalism, because when I was in high school, I actually worked with cameras. I worked with editing software. I actually ran the news channel at my high school. And I think he was just trying to find a way to kind of break out of his shell. And I was just on YouTube, just kind of just randomly, just searching random channels. And I happened to run into this one channel. It was ran by a friend of mine who you guys know. Maybe the guys don't know her. Her name is Rachel, and she had this little just Q&A, and I just regularly just started watching episode, and I just liked her personality, and I thought, like, you know what, maybe this is a way to just kind of just get my opinions out there and break out of my shell. And then I spoke to my brother about it, and he kind of encouraged me too. So I very much, a lot of people don't know, maybe some people know this. At the time, the channel, I had a chance to meet Rachel at E3 that year when I started my channel. And the funny thing is that the channel was originally kind of semi-named after her with the title 3TR, because at the time I still do. I had these tower of like inspirational pictures from her that she sent, and okay, like 3 pictures that I keep that like inspire me to keep doing ideas, and I still have it. I always move it around whenever I move. So the channel was originally like 3 different types of Rachel, like 3 types. So that's where the name came from. And believe it or not, the name 3TG actually came from her when I spoke to her like a few years ago about it. So it was Rachel for inspiring my channel, and then my brother encouraged me to push forward, and the rest is really much history after that. So that's kind of what got me started. So next question comes from Black Wolf 249. You want to know, have you ever considered getting back into journalism? Yes, I did that. And what was your favorite black sheep of video game collection? Black sheep. Black. I don't know what you mean by black sheep, but journalism. I think I did. I tried doing that in the first 2 years of my channel here on YouTube. I actually take that back. It was actually the first year, because back in 2012, I was actually writing game reviews for a local newspaper, and that's how I was able to get invited to go to E3 that year. So when I went to E3, I was actually part of the media, and I was just gathering, footage and pictures, and I had like a review of like what happened at E3. But eventually that newspaper kind of shut down, and I just never really went back. So have I had an interest in getting back into game journalism? Not so much. I don't really think that it's a thing right now, and I don't think I could pull that off by myself. So no, I really haven't had much of a chance. I knew I wanted to work in the gaming industry, and I still do because I'm very passionate about it. But in a journalist sense, I just don't think that's really necessary anymore, because it's not really a thing anymore. I would say it was a much stronger thing like 10 years ago, but I do not think that is the way that the state of game journalism is now. Next question comes from Zach, and you want to know, so do you think that there's anything that could be compared to Wesker's enhancements, like, say, Captain America's Super Soldier Serum or Spider-Man? The thing about Wesker's enhancements is that you have to remember that it's not so much a serum. It's that when you look at people like Captain America and Spider-Man, they start out as a normal person, and they had an outside element introduced into their body, which changed their body. With Wesker, it's different, because Wesker was genetically engineered to be the way that he is. And so the virus that was introduced to him from Tyrant simply woke that up. And over time, he kind of introduces new different viruses into his body in order to make him stronger. So really, the catalyst of his body is his ability to take outside viruses and incorporate their strengths and reject the weaknesses parts. The problem is that if he does too much, it causes a mutation in his body, and that's what you saw in Resident Evil 5. You have to admit, by that point, Wesker had been experimenting with several different variations of the T virus that he injected into his body in order to make him stronger and gain new abilities. But he had to constantly monitor that. So so just off the top of my head, I don't think there's anything you can really compare to that to Wesker, is because Wesker was created that way to adapt to different viruses. It's just that he had to constantly keep monitoring it, otherwise it would cause a mutation, which is what eventually ended up happening in Resident Evil 5. So no, I just off the top of my head, I can't think of anything that works that way, because most people don't start out as being genetically engineered in order to take different viruses and enhance them. I think maybe the closest thing to that may be Alex Mercer, but even that's a whole different thing. Next question comes from Rain932, and you want to know, what are my thoughts on power scaling in general and how powerful certain characters are considered to be, like Final Fantasy VII Persona characters, for example. I think when it comes to power scaling, I think you need to take into account limiting the certain characters to the world that they are in. So, for example, if I were to do a power scaling of, say, Final Fantasy characters, I would try not to compare them too much to others, simply because because Final Fantasy is not a consistent set of stories that connect. They're individual stories, and they operate by different rules. You might be able to do that with some of the villains, but I wouldn't say so much with some of the protagonist characters, simply because they're scaled on a different tier because of where their world's rules are set. So, for example, I wouldn't apply the same rules for someone like, say, Squall to someone like, I'd say, Bartz in Final Fantasy V, because the importance of magic is a little bit different. In fact, how they use magic is a little bit different. Like, for example, in Final Fantasy VIII, no one can actually learn magic outside of, say, the sorceress. They have to draw. They have to draw that power from something else and kind of carry it in their body, and they can only use it a limited amount of times. Now, some could say that that was just a game mechanic for that particular game, but that is a dedicated element for how students of Seed are actually trained. So that's why it's a little bit different. It can be done, but I very much would try to keep it within the context of the rules that are set for each individual game, and I don't want to try to compare them differently because they operate by different rules. So that's just how I feel about power scaling with like characters like Final Fantasy in general. Next question comes from Night at Slayer, and you want to know, what would you say is the best type of breakfast? Ooh, that's a good one. Well, I actually just had it this morning on my way home. I love, like, the perfect breakfast. I think off the top of my head is there are two different types. Now, some people might call me just a little bit like old school, but I don't really care. I absolutely love I don't go to McDonald's very often, but I absolutely love their pancakes. So they're good, but I'm a big fan of French toast with some sausages and hash browns and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, I think cereal is just very, very, very standard. I mean, I still eat cereal, but I typically would like a hot meal. Like, yeah, very into breakfast. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day, as some people would say. Okay, let's see. Yeah. Hellish, you can ask as many questions as you want. I'm looking at the list as it goes, and I'm answering them one by one. Super Samus Zach, what got me into PlayStation? Ooh, that's a good one. My brother. My brother actually got me into PlayStation. Back in, I want to say 1998. When me and my brother were a lot smaller, and he would come over and spend some time over. He had a PlayStation before I did, and I only had a Nintendo 64, which I still haven't. And every time he would come over, he would like bring some of his games, even though we couldn't play them. And one game that always fascinated me the most, here it is, was this game. And every time he would bring it over, I was just fascinated, just looking at it. Like, it was so different from Nintendo 64. I was just so intrigued by the pictures and what it was about. And he would tell me about these individual pictures. He's like, oh, that's Sephiroth and his mother Jenova, and that's an airship, and that's Ifrit, and that's Red 13, and he's looking at this statue of his father. It was just so fascinating. And then when I actually got to try PlayStation for this first time, I was just instantly in love with it, because this was like gaming on a whole different level that I had never actually experienced before. In fact, this was when the introduction of story type gaming really started kicking in, because my collection of Nintendo 64 games wasn't very big, because at that time, my parents weren't big into buying too many games, so I would always have to rent certain games, but none of them had really great stories. Like, I would play games like Super Mario 64 and Star Wars Rogue Squadron and Diddy Kong's Racing and Donkey Kong 64 and Mario Kart 64 and Super Smash Brothers. So I was very much into the traditional popular style of Nintendo 64 games. But it was really with Final Fantasy VII, which to this day, I've said it many times, this is the single most important video game I've ever played, because it made me a story-driven gamer. And it was from that I discovered other games that had incredible stories. So you had games like, I think it's like Kane Legacy and Metal Gear and Crash Bandicoot and then Final Fantasy VIII. And so I recognized that if I wanted to play games that had very interesting and in-depth stories, I should probably stick with PlayStation, and that's how it started. Now, the funny thing is that I didn't actually get my very first PlayStation until PlayStation 2. And my dad got it for me for Christmas. I can't remember, like, I want to say either 2001 or 2002, maybe 2003, one of those Christmases. And what it was this bundle pack, and it came with 2 games. It came with the first Ratchet and Clank game and ATV Off-Road Fury. The thing is that even though I got it for Christmas, my dad told me that I could not open it until I got my grades up. So it was a little bit of a crazy tactic from him. This is something my dad always do. He would offer you something, but he would want you to excel. And so he says, "Okay, here's what you're gonna do. Your PlayStation is waiting right here, but I want your grades to be nothing but A's and B's by the end of the next quarter. So when your grades come in, if you have nothing but A's and B's, you can get this." And so that was like the prime motivation for like the next few months was getting my grades, because my grades weren't bad, but they were like, it was A's and B's and like a couple C's. So when I got my report card and I saw that it was nothing but A's and B's, I immediately ran home. I just like, "Dad, here's my report card. Nothing but A's and B's. Can I open my PlayStation?" And it had been sitting there for at least like 2-3 months. And it's like, okay. So I just like went to the kitchen, grabbed a knife, and I went Texas Chainsaw Massacre on this bundle pack and tore that thing up. And all night, and luckily it was the weekend, and I just spent all weekend just playing Ratchet and Clank and ATV Off-Road Fury, and that's really where the real drive for my love of PlayStation started. But it really did start with PlayStation 1. And it's been that way ever since. And I looked at every other console that's come out since then. I've looked at the Nintendo. I looked at the GameCube and the Wii. And there are a few good games on there. None of them just could really get me as involved as PlayStation. And PlayStation has always been in a state of constantly wanting to reinvent and change itself. And that's the one thing that Nintendo and Xbox don't do. Xbox has not really been good at establishing new franchises, and Nintendo is still stuck with the same set of franchises that they've been using since the 80s and 90s. While PlayStation is always trying to introduce new stories and new IP and new characters and new stories. And that's the one thing that PlayStation does better than Nintendo and Xbox in ways that they've never been able to pull that off. In over 20 years, neither Nintendo and Microsoft have been able to pull what PlayStation has been. Now, don't get me wrong. They've had a few hiccups from time to time, but they're consistent. And I like things that are consistent. And that's why I'm mainly a PlayStation person. Now, don't get me wrong. I have plenty of fun playing on my Switch from time to time. There's definitely a few games on my Switch I'm having fun with, but I've never spent any more time on another console or another handheld than a PlayStation console or handheld. So that's really how it started. And wow, that answer went on for a while. Okay, we got to go back up. Okay, so there you go, Super Samus. That's kind of what got me into PlayStation. Next question comes from Marcus Rainin. I hope I said that right. And he wants to know, would you agree that there should be a Devil May Cry spin-off involving Spyro? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I've been asking for that. I would love for them to do a spin-off with Virgil. I think that if, Dante's been the main lead for Devil May Cry, and I think that after Devil May Cry 5, we've kind of transitioned over to Nero being the main focus. So if we ever do get a Devil May Cry 6, I would expect it would be to mainly focus on Nero. But if they ever want to do a spin-off, then I think Virgil absolutely could get his own game. But above that, Sparta needs to get his own game, because we've never actually seen Sparta, and we have just been given very few details on what established his legend. But to actually see him in action and see just how powerful he was, I think would be great. I would even be fine if there was a game that focused on what Sparta did to have Mundus turn on him, and then for Sparta to lose his wife, and then for Dante and Virgil to get split up. I think a game focusing on that would be incredible, because Sparta is connected to every single Devil May Cry game, and yet we know almost little to nothing about him. Like, he was we used his main sword in Devil May Cry 1. There is a whole cult built in his name in Devil May Cry 2. we're trying to get the Force Edge, which is Sparta's sword, in Devil May Cry 3. There's a whole religion built around Sparta in Devil May Cry 4. And then, again, Sparta's brought up in Devil May Cry 5. Sparta's essences has always been present throughout the entire franchise, yet we've never actually seen him. We've never heard him. We've never seen him in action, yet we know he was this powerful demon. I would love a game centered around him. Like a prequel would work just perfectly. So yes, I would love for them to finally to flesh out the Sparta character because he's just that important. Let's see, what was next? What was next? Okay, it was Zach. So what kind of device do you think Spider-Man would make to mess around P-30 device on Jill's chest? Well, I don't think he would need to create anything. I mean, all he would need to do is, I actually don't think he would have that much of a difficult time with Jill. I mean, all he would need to do is punch it a few times. I mean, personally, I think if he was, he's definitely faster. Yeah, dude, he wouldn't have much problem with Jill anyway. I mean, all he would need to do is tie her up and then rip that thing off her chest. I mean, he could punch it a few times to damage it a little bit. Like, he doesn't have to shoot it like, Chris and Sheva had to. But I don't think he would have a problem with that. He wouldn't need to use his. He wouldn't need to build a special device. I think he could handle that pretty well. Next question comes from Hellish and Hero, and you want to know thoughts on Microsoft and Nintendo. I think that Nintendo is classic. My background is definitely in Nintendo. They always had a good collection of games. But I think my only issue with Nintendo is that they've never been able to establish an effective new IP. And so, as I said earlier, they stick with the same small group of games. So you're going to get like a Mario game and a Zelda game and maybe eventually a Star Fox game and a Metroid game and a Pokemon game. And so they stick with those same franchises because they know they're popular. And I'm just saddened that they haven't found a new IP character to add to that line. And that's something that PlayStation does that Nintendo doesn't. Now, Microsoft has a whole set of different problems on its own. Going back to the fact that most people don't want to acknowledge this, but Microsoft's first Xbox was meant to be a shooter-focused console. It was supposed to compete with more like PC than consoles. And I just think that they've just had a very difficult time establishing new IPs. Now, that's recently changed because they acquired all these studios. But again, where are the games? I mean, this was something that many people were worried about. Microsoft was purchasing all these studios to make exclusive content for their consoles. And yet, where are the games? I mean, wasn't this announced like a year or two ago? Yeah, I mean, maybe it'll be like a few more years till they get things going. But in the current state that Microsoft's in, I'm not that all impressed or concerned about it. Let's see. Next question comes from Winter Ghost, and you want to know, what would you like to see in the next God of War game, whether it's not the story that moves on from Kratos? Well, obviously we're going to be in a new environment. I think we should move on and have Atreus be the main focus. I think so. I think there's going to be a time jump where he's like a young adult, so like maybe he's like early 18, so he's a much bigger man. Exploring Egypt. That seems like the popular choice, and apparently. Sorry, someone just walked in. My apologies. Oh wow, we're already 30 minutes in. Okay, where was I? Yes, next God of War. Oh god, I cannot wait to move and then have a proper filming room instead of having to put all my stuff here in the kitchen. Like, actually, this would have been the dining room. The kitchen's right over there, and the living room's right here. So whenever people come in, It always messes with me because it's always distracting, and I miss just having a dedicated filming room. Back to your question. Yeah, focus on Atreus. Egypt's got a great collection of gods. I think they need to add something to the combat system because I think that much as the 2018 God of War kind of reinvented the combat a little bit to make it different from the Greek mythology era, I think that if we do go to Egypt, they need to add something that makes it definitively different from the Norse mythology era. So that's just generally what I would expect. And I don't expect there to be a major focus on Kratos. If there was going to be Kratos, I think it needs to be very, very small, more like a cameo. He might have like a small presence, but I think it certainly needs to focus on his son. I just don't really think there's anything we could go with the Kratos character anymore. They've really done a phenomenal job with Kratos, but in terms of his growth as a character, I just don't really see what more we could do with him. However, Atreus, on the other time, there is a lot of development and growth that can be done with that character. Let's see. What's next? Next question comes from Black Wolf, and you want to say, they say that the plot of most works of fiction are really strong in coincidences, but do a good job masking it. What anime, comic, or video game do you think did the worst job at disguising this? Coincidences. What did not do a good job? I get what you're trying to say, Black Wolf. But I really can't think of any that did that. I mean, I guess there are some movies and stories that don't have. Okay, you know what? Maybe I can't exactly I can't think of a specific movie, but I just think that the worst type of stories are ones that are clearly trying to have some sort of political message and trying to tell you something when you're just trying to be entertained. Like when I go to a movie, like I don't want to be told what to think or how to feel or what to think on a certain subject. I'm here to be entertained, and a lot of movies don't do that. They've gone so woke, and it's just so blatantly obvious to what they're trying to do, and that I find kind of annoying. So I think that's the closest thing that I can think to what you're describing. Next question comes from Loneblade94. Awesome name. You want to know, do I think that Wolverine's healing factor would allow him to survive the Foxdie virus, since its purpose is to infect and kill those with specific genetic code? That's an Foxdie. That's a very good question. Let's see. If you could infect Wolverine with Foxdie, I'm not exactly sure if the virus. I'm not sure exactly if the virus would do that, because you have to remember that Wolverine's healing factor is so strong, especially when he was younger. He could survive so many things that could try to kill him. I think that Wolverine would be in a great deal of pain, but I don't. I think that I think he could survive Foxdie. I do think so, because you have to remember that the Foxdie virus was designed to target specific individuals, and then you had to have the right person with the other agent in order to activate the Foxdie in that person's body, but you wouldn't know it. So even if you tried doing that, I still think that Wolverine's factor would. I think it would help him. Yeah, I do. Yes, no, I think Wolverine could survive Foxdie. It'd be tough, but I think he could do it. What else? Let's see. Oh, dang, I got a lot of questions. We're going to be here a while. And with Wolverine's heal factor, could it deal with the T virus in Jill? Okay, Jill's different. I think the trick is that when you have two different virus strands trying to go at it, it might cause an issue. I don't think the body can handle. So while I think that now here's the funny thing about Jill. You have to remember that Jill had multiple different strands of the virus in her body. You have to remember that when she was infected by Nemesis, even after getting the antidote, the T virus never actually left her body, which in Wesker's case was very, very helpful because there was already an element of the virus in Jill's body, and he was able to kind of work with that a little bit, or even kind of enhance it so that the strengths of the T virus that was in Jill's body came out more. So I think, but if you throw Fox Die in there, I don't think she would survive it, simply because I think that Fox Die is such a lethal virus. So no, though I think that Wolverine's healing factor would protect him, I do not think it would. I do not think it would work well for Jill. Jill would suffer a very painful death. Next question. Any thoughts on the Velma show? Oh dear Lord, no. Oh dear God, that looks awful. And then it just looks awful. Just there's so many things about that I've seen. I've seen other people's thoughts on it, and it looks worse than even I thought. I mean, heck, I'm not even a big Scooby-Doo fan, and this was just something I wanted nothing to do with these blatant changes that were just I just found just completely pointless and in some cases offensive in some sense. I mean, how the hell do you have a Scooby-Doo show and not have Scooby-Doo? And then didn't they like make Shaggy black, and then they make like Daphne like bisexual in some cases? Like what are they doing? Like, just the less we talk about it, the better. Dear God. Next question comes from Black Wolf. Which first-person shooter series divulged into a cash cow first? Which maybe Call of Duty. Maybe. I think that's the one that I think is the cash cow the most, because you have to remember there was a period of time where they would release new Call of Duty every single year, and there was a time, I think it was in the early 2000s, where it was like 1 year it was Infinity Ward, the next year it was Treyarch, following year it was Infinity War, next year was Treyarch, and there were some differences. So, but I think, and then they kept like releasing a Call of Duty every single year. So I think that's the first franchise that comes to mind when it comes to first-person shooters that felt like a cash cow. Now, not to say that there weren't some good installments, there definitely were, but there were definitely some that were less impressive than others. Let's see. Next question. Favorite Persona character? Joker. I also love Scarlet, and I love Panther. I love Queen. In my first playthrough of Persona 5, I romanced Panther, and then in my second playthrough, I romanced Queen, and then in my first playthrough of Persona 5 Royal, I romanced Scarlet, and now I'm playing through Persona 4 again on Golden, but I'm playing on console, and I'm already starting the process to romance one of the characters. So yeah, Persona 5 look great. Let's see. No, okay, you guys are talking to each other. Next question comes from Rain. And you want to know, outside of Batman himself, which member of the Bat family, in your eyes, would be the best fit for a film or show? Easily Nightwing. Easily Nightwing. I think he would be great to have his own film or show. It is very much a shame that we have not had a live-action use of Robin in almost 20 years in terms of film. I know they've used several different Robins in this different show, like the Titans show, which I didn't really watch too much, but they had like 3 different Robins at one point. But out of all of them, I think that there's certainly enough you could do with the Nightwing character for him to have his own film. I would absolutely support that without question. Next question comes from Super Samus, and you want to know, anticipated game of 2023. This is tough. Uh, this is tough. What is my most anticipated game of this year? Oh, I'm sorry. This is really difficult because I have so many games coming out. Like, my collector's editions for Dead Space is supposed to get here in like a few days. Here's the thing. I did a video not too long ago talking about what I want to see in Dead Space, the remake. And then I think it was either yesterday or the day before, someone actually uploaded like the top 10 changes that have been confirmed to be in the Dead Space remake. And I kid you not, all of those changes that I asked for apparently have already been confirmed, and I just didn't know it. So this thing has side missions, it has new areas, and so all of these changes that I was not aware of have apparently been confirmed at some point not too long ago are in this game. And that makes me even more pumped up because now they're taking the best elements that were introduced in Dead Space 2 and 3 and just applying it to the first Dead Space, which makes me even more pumped up for this game. However, Hogwarts Legacy, really pumped up for that game. And then Final Fantasy 16, super pumped up for that game. I'm not so much pumped up for something like Resident Evil 4 because if they just stick to the format that I think that they're going to, as they did with the Resident Evil 2 remake and the Resident Evil 3 remake, then I know what to expect going into that game. But it's really, really difficult because I think, like, right now, as it stands, Dead Space is kind of the lead right now. But I think if Final Fantasy 16 can pull off what I think they're going to pull off, then that could be a very big surprise as well. So it's a toss-up between Dead Space, which if they just stick to what I think they're going to do, that could certainly be one of the best survival horror games I've ever played. Up there with something like original Dead Space 2 and Resident Evil 4. But from what I've seen of Final Fantasy 16, that looks incredible. But then you have Hogwarts Legacy, which looks like could be probably the greatest just Wizarding World focused game of all time, and all this controversy of these people trying to get this game banned makes me want to play this game even more. Like originally I pured just a regular copy of this, but once all this controversy started building up, it made me want to play this game even more, and so I upgraded to like the deluxe edition. And it's just unfortunate because at this point, if there were still any more collector's editions available, have like the little magnetic floating wand, I absolutely would have upgraded to that. But so sadly, those have been sold out for like several months. So it is a bit of a toss up because there's 2023 is going to be a great year for gaming. Let's see. What was the next question? Least favorite God of War game? God of War Betrayal. I just did a updated worst to best ranking, tier list style of all the God of War games, and my least favorite is God of War Betrayal, but I still think it's a good game even for just a mobile game. Okay, Marcus looks like he's gone for a little while, so he'll be back, and you guys are just talking to yourself. Next question comes from Tyler Groff. I hope I said your name wrong because the way it's spelled. You want to know, have I watched any other Yu-Gi-Oh series and seen the Japanese versions? Yes, I've seen the Japanese versions of the original Yu-Gi-Oh series. I rewatched 5Ds a little bit, and just recently I've watched a few episodes of GX, even though I thought GX was stupid when it first came out. But I have actually started going back and rewatching GX because I've been playing like a lot of Master Duels recently. Like I've been playing Master Duels like everywhere I go. Like I now have Master Duel on 4 different devices. I have Master Duel on my PlayStation 5. I have Master Duel on my PC here. I have Master Duel on my Switch. And I have Master Duel on my phone. And they're all linked together. So everywhere I go, I can play it. So I could play it right now if I wanted to. I could go to my room and play it on my PlayStation. I play it at work all the time on my phone. And I just built a Cyber Dragon deck. So I've been recently just watching a lot of Zane's duels just to kind of figure out how to use these cards properly. And I'm doing pretty well so far. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe one of these days I should stream some Master Duel so you can guys kind of see just how good I am at this game. Next question comes from Zach Tarf. You want to know if Capcom does Resident Evil 1 remake again, would you want them to combine Chris and Jill scenarios like the Umbrella Chronicles? I think, that's the thing. They've already remade the first Resident Evil, but I would prefer if they actually remade it in the over-the-shoulder style, as they've done with, 2 and 3 and 4. And they should have done Code Veronica. I've been saying this with a lot of people. They should have done Code Veronica first before going into 4. I think going to the 4 is a little bit cheap because that's the one that started that kind of revolutionized the franchise. And my question is, how far are these remakes going to go? Like, are they going to remake 4? Are they going to remake 5? Are they going to remake 6? Are they going to remake, not Umbrella Chronicles? Are they going to remake Revelations? Like, how far are they going to take these remakes? Because, as I stated, like, last year, like, when they released Resident Evil 7, I've never played that game because it was in first person, and I don't like playing Resident Evil games in the first person. But when they released Resident Evil 8, and they added the third person camera view, that's what made me want to play that game. And I thought it worked perfectly. And I was like, if you give me the option to play either first person or third person, that's good because it gives you options. So if they ever decide to remake Resident Evil 1 again, I think having the option to say, okay, you can either play this individually and the story plays out this way, or you could kind of do it Resident Evil 5 style and you can have Chris and Jill together the whole way. Similar to I forget what the DLC was called in Resident Evil 5, where you were playing as a Chris and Jill visiting the Spencer Mansion. Like, do it like that, but have the option. I think something like that would be really, really cool. This is your kitchen. Talk about compact. Yes. I'm not even kidding. Like, I'll show you. Like, okay, so yeah, there's the living room right there. Like, the front door's right here. That's the family television, which is actually smaller than mine. And then right here, there's the kitchen. Like, there's, like, no room. So, like, I can't, I'm limited as for when I can actually film anything because I'm like, it's like, this is the first time in 5 years that my filming area is in a different place from my bedroom. Like, at my last apartment, the bedroom was always in the background. You could see it. And then at the previous apartment before that, it was in the background. So I think moving forward, when I move again in May, I need, it's going to be like a 2-bedroom apartment. And he's going to keep one bedroom as dedicated as his filming and gaming room, and then the other one is as my bedroom. I prefer them being different locations, and this is just the only place that we could put them. Unfortunately, it's exposed because, heck, when people come in, it breaks my concentration or it picks them up. So yeah. Let's see. Okay, we got 10 minutes. Oh damn, this stream is actually going better than I thought it was gonna go. I didn't realize I was gonna have this much fun doing this. I might have to do another live stream people's questions next time because this is fun. Let's see. Oh damn, we got a lot of questions. I think Bastic would be a good ally for Kratos, maybe at Horus. Yeah. If we go to Egypt, yeah. There's definitely not a number of questions. I just don't think there's anything you could do with the Kratos character at this point. I think he's gone as far as he could. Next question comes from Tyler again. A part of Lord of Shadows games, did you play any other Castlevania games, and what did you think of the franchise? Yeah, I actually have the first Lord of Shadows game. Loved it. I didn't like the second one as much. I have played, I'm not the biggest Castlevania fan. I have played Symphony of the Night. I did play Super Castlevania on the SNES. I didn't play the first 3 that were on NES. And there were definitely a few Game Boy focused Castlevania games that they released. But yeah, I think it's a solid franchise that I think it needs to come back. This is another franchise that Konami has, and they're not doing anything with. It's annoying. They have Castlevania, and they have Metal Gear, and they're not doing anything with them. And they have Silent Hill, and like I'm not even a Silent Hill fan. And even I'm annoyed that they're not doing anything with that. Let's see. Next question comes from Black Wolf. He wants to know: have you ever heard of Noxium? It's a form of kryptonite that can affect Amazons and even normal humans, along with Kryptonians. What if it appeared in comics? I guess if it I've never heard of that, but I guess if you added that would cause a lot of problems for a lot of people. Wow, I mean, so you're telling me it's lethal towards Amazons and humans? Yeah, that'd be pretty serious. Next question comes from Rain932. Oh snap, 13. Oh my god, 13 people. Damn. Oh damn. Wow. Wow. If I can get this many people watching, we might have to go to live streams moving forward. Wow, 14. Holy snap, dude. This is like bigger than when I do a Twitch. Like I've never even had like 10 people on a Twitch stream. Oh my god, this is crazy. Well, Rain, let's see. In my opinion, who is the best example of a legacy hero? Characters like Nightwing as Batman, John Stewart as Green Lantern, or Miles. Best example of a legacy character? Who's a good example? I think okay. Okay, I'm gonna try to stay out of comics. Who's a good? I'm trying to think. Who's a good legacy character? I think, as crazy as this is gonna sound, I think that Sherry from Resident Evil 5 is a great example of a legacy character, given where she started, who her parents are, and her backstory, and then where she ended up. Because much like Wesker and Jill, she also has a form of the virus in her, and so she's been kind of almost at one point a danger, but she was inspired by Leon and Claire to better herself, and because of that became a character who could hold her own in almost any situation. And I think that is very, very good for legacy characters, is that they take what they learned from prior characters, they use that as a driving force, but they form their own path. And I think that is very cool, which is why it's a shame that Sherry has not made a return since Resident Evil 6, because I definitely thought she was one of the stronger characters in that game, character-wise. Let's see. Next question. Hey, Will Williams, Ellen DeGenerate, Black Shadow Knight here. Wow, it's been a while since we've had these. Are these videos returning now? Yes. Yes. People's Questions is going to be back weekly. Filming will be on Wednesday. I'm just right now on the fence of whether or not I should keep doing them live stream style like this because I'm having so much fun, or go back to just doing them in the traditional video format that I've been doing for like 499 episodes, because this is the first time I've done these live like this. Okay, next question comes from Black Wolf. Have I ever heard of Beyond? No, I have not. Next question next comes from The View with Drew. That is a cool name. And what's up? How are you doing? Welcome to the stream. And then next question comes from Zach. You want to know, do I think Wesker could work with other supervillains? And if he does, how long do you think it would work as villains turn on each other? Yeah, that's pretty common. Villains typically, they can work together for a little bit, but they eventually do turn on each other. Who would you work with? Who would be someone he could do it? Who's a villain from another franchise I think he could work with? Damn, that's tough. Maybe he could work with Alex Mercer when he became evil in Prototype 2. Maybe they're both virus type creatures, so that's just the first one that just comes to mind just off the top of my head. It wouldn't work out. I'm pretty sure Alex could take Wesker at any time he wants, but I don't know. Maybe God, I think that would work big time for Alex if he absorbed Wesker and then he takes his set of different viruses into his body. Oh geez, Alex would get like a super power up after that. Whew, I don't even want to think about how much more powerful Alex would get. Whew, that's a thought. Next question, The View from Drew. God, I love saying that. Which comic book movie would you rather watch? Again, Daredevil 2003 or Ghost Rider? Definitely Daredevil. I saw Ben Affleck's Daredevil with my dad. One of the few films that we saw together. I didn't think, as someone who didn't know much about Daredevil, I thought it was okay. I thought that Colin Firth's portrayal as Bullseye was all right. I thought Elektra was okay. I thought Michael Duncan's performance as Kingpin was okay, especially if you've seen the director's cut. I mean, the theatrical cut of that Daredevil film isn't. I think it's okay, but I think the director's cut was certainly an improvement. It didn't make it like a great film, but it's something in between. I think it makes it a good film. Like if you haven't seen the 2003, look that up. I think it's actually worth a watch if you haven't seen it before. Next one comes from Black Wolf. You want to know, have I watched the Fourth Snakes video? Are you a fan of him? That name sounds familiar, but I can't think of any videos off the top of my head. What time is it now? Okay, we got like a good 4 minutes. Okay. Let's see. Next question comes from Super Samus. I know you feel I had a toss-up between Pixium 4, Tears of Kingdom, and Marvel Spider-Man 2. Okay, wow, yeah. Oh, snap! I totally forgot about Spider-Man 2. That's another game I'm pumped up for. Oh, man, that's going to be kind of confusing, because if this that brings up a whole controversy. It's like... Give me a second. Hang on. Give me a second. Sorry. My bronchitis in my lungs are starting to flare up again. I've been sick for like the past 2 weeks. And there's something in my lungs that's causing me to cough. And whenever I talk to... Sorry. Whenever I like talk too much like this, it starts flaring up. It's crazy because I was violently sick back on the 9th, and yet like I had like a fever and I had like all these things wrong, and I've had this cough since the 9th, and I have like all these pills that apparently I still have like some bronchitis in my lungs, and it's just not going away, like, and it pops up every once in a while. So just getting some liquid in my throat, it kind of helps. So I apologize. But yeah, dang, Spider-Man 2, that's another game I'm pumped up for. But here's the thing: what do you call Miles? Like, Peter Parker is Spider-Man, so what do you call Miles? I mean, at least when it comes to like something like Batman, you had Batman as Bruce Wayne, and then he's Batman Beyond. But they would call him Batman when he wasn't around classic Batman. So what do you call Miles if he's hanging around with Peter Parker? Peter Parker is Spider-Man, so they need to come up with some new name for Miles so that he has his own identity. And you can't just call him Spider-Man. You need to call him something else. I mean, at least like even with someone like Gwen Stacy, they call her like Spider-Gwen or something like that. Let's see. Next question comes from Lone Blade 94. Have you heard or seen any new indie game called Lost Souls Aside? Is it some sort of hybrid of Final Fantasy Devil May Cry? I've never actually heard of that, but if you're telling me it's like a hybrid of Final Fantasy Devil May Cry, I'll definitely give that a look. Let's see. Just later, nothing else. Have you ever thought about making anime content? P.S. I'm the same guy that asked that. Yes. I answered your question. I could. If you got any suggestions, just send me a message of what you want me to talk about, and I'll be sure to do it. But yeah, I used to talk a lot about anime in the early years of my channel, but I kind of moved away from it. But yeah, sure, if you want to see, if a lot of people want me to start posting some anime content, I'm more than happy to do that. Okay, Zach. Well, they say that in Resident Evil 4 they haven't cut anything, Brian. They're just adding stuff. Okay, if they're adding stuff, then I'm curious to see what it is. Next question comes from. Let's see. Oh, jeez. Oh, God. Oh, wow. There's a lot of questions that we gotta. You know what? I might keep this going for another 29 minutes because, like, yeah, like we gotta, I don't want to I don't want to cut it off, but yeah, like if we keep this going, it's gonna get crazy. So I'll keep this going for another 29 minutes. Okay. Let's see, Resident Evil base. Okay, next question comes from Black Wolf. Which comic book arc by Brian Michael Bendis is your least favorite? Can't really say. That name doesn't sound familiar to me, so I'm not really sure what he makes. Winter Ghost. You want to know my thoughts on Final Fantasy Crisis Core Remake? I didn't play it. I'm avoiding it. I don't want nothing to do with that. I'm already pissed off about what they did in the so-called Final Fantasy VII Remake, fucking up its story, making the characters completely unrecognizable, having horrible voice acting, and God, the thought of that game just pisses me the hell off. All I can hope is that they never remake Final Fantasy X. Leave that game alone. Do not touch that game. Leave it alone. I'm already pissed off what they did in the remake of 7. I'm already pissed off. Okay. Let's see. Maybe Operation Raccoon City or Outbreak Files 1 or 2. Lost Nightmare. Yes, Zach, Lost Nightmare. That's what the DLC was called, where you played as Christian Jill. Something like that. If they did that with another Resident Evil 1 remake, that's what I would expect. And have the choice to, again, play with either just one character or have them together with co-op. Next question. What do you think on the argument people make that companies are remaking too many games and not making enough new IPs? That's a strong. That is a very strong. There is some credibility to that argument, because when companies can't think of good ideas, they look back to what was popular or what made a lot of money, because they're banking on the nostalgic value of the fans that like that original game and hoping that they'll come back. And it is a tactic that works. So it's a shame that there aren't any new IPs coming out, but yeah, there a lot of games that get remade. And sometimes they're not made better. They don't take advantage. They don't take advantage of stuff like that. So that is a very legitimate argument. And heck, not all remakes are good. What are? Ooh, this is a good one. I can't say your name, but it's like Tenrian Nak. I apologize. I'm real bad with names. What are some of my favorite Power Ranger villains, and which ones do you think are unappreciated? Ooh, that's a good one. Let's see. Zed was frightening. I think Astronema from Space was great. Rancid from Time Force was great. I love his character arc, and I like how it continued on a little bit in Wild Force. I like that. I think Lothar was hilarious in Ninja Storm. Which ones do I think are unappreciated? I think her name was... Oh, God, I can't... Her name's slipping my mind. I think it was like Dagobah or something like that. From Turbo. Gets a lot of crap because people don't like Turbo. But they have to acknowledge that she's technically the only villain to actually beat the Power Rangers. A lot of people don't recognize that. Like, every other villain has been beaten by the Power Rangers, she's the only one who actually straight up not only beat the Power Rangers, but forced them to leave the planet. And she's not talked about enough. That one I think is unappreciated. Those are just a few that I can think off the top of my mind. All right, next question comes from Broken Limit. Your thoughts on Castlevania? Oh my god. The anime, oh god. The anime Castlevania Netflix series was incredible. I thought it was great. Loved every episode of it. I would love a game focused on those characters. Technically, that story's kind of based off of the first 3 games. But I loved it. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And I can't wait to see what they do with the next series of Castlevania. Because I already know it's going to be based off of, I believe, the next Belmont. Which I think is Trevor and... I forget her name. I'm pissed off that, but I loved it. I thought it was great. Let's see. Rain says, honestly, live streaming TPQ is more of an open formula. Sounds like more like a really good idea. Next question comes from Zach. He wants to know: do I think that Bruce Wayne and Tony Stark would have their tech to heal jail after what Wesker did? I don't think fix her hair and skin so she looks like she did before. What? Oh, Wesker didn't. Dude, what are you talking about? Her skin? She looks just fine. The only thing they did is he just made her blonde. She went from having dark hair to blonde hair. That's all they did. And she might have like a few scars from when to get the device on her chest, but other than that, she's just fine. She looks fine. She looks good as a blonde. She looks good in that purple jumpsuit. She looks good. I'd bang her, if I was in the right state of mind. Least favorite place that I have worked. Ooh, this is a good one because I'm actually about to transfer away from my main job that I've had for like the last 8 years. But my least favorite place that I've worked at personally, I think had to have been my job at a place called, maybe you guys have heard it. It's a place called Round One. It's supposed to be like this arcade place that imports a lot of exotic foreign games from Japan. And I only worked there for like a month or two, and I ended up hating it. The reason being is that I signed up hoping it would be one type of job, and it ended up being a different type of job, and just the environment was just so overwhelming that I just had to quit after 2 months. But yeah, out of all the jobs I've had, that's definitely the one I didn't really enjoy the most. However, I did take that experience that I had working at that arcade area and applied it to the arcade job that I have now. So at the moment, some of you guys may not know this, but I'm actually working 2 jobs. And I'm hoping to move from my bowling tech job that I've had for 8 years to another job and work that part-time, still keep my arcade job, and therefore I have enough money to not only handle all my bills, but to save up money for emergencies, and yet I have more time to game. Because as it stands right now, there's only like a total of 2 whole days that I can actually play, and that's today on Wednesdays, and then the mornings of Monday and Tuesday. Every other day, it's back-to-back shifts. It's literally wake up at 8, go to my arcade job from 10 to 6, then go to my bowling job, come home, go to sleep, and do it over for like 3 or 4 days in a row. And I really need more time to not only work on content, but to work on scripts and play games. Like, as it stands right now, if I get my copy of Dead Space on the 27th when the collection is supposed to get here. I'm sorry. Like, when I get it, I can't even open it for 3 days. Like, I'm gonna have the box, I'm gonna bring it in, and I can't do an unboxing for it for like 3 or 4 days because that's gonna be the soonest I can even start playing that game. And that's not gonna suit well with the amount of games that come out this year. So I need more time to game because that is important to me, and I don't want to give that up. What's up, guys? Okay, so just fill up the cartoon king. All right, well, what's up for stopping by? If an average team happens between Jackman's Wolverine, Tobey Maguire, Affleck's Daredevil, Nick Cage's Ghost Rider, Wilson Snipes' Blade, what? Are you telling me what if they made like an Avengers team with those people? That'd be odd. That'd be odd, but I'd watch it. Sorry to hear that, man. Hope you feel better soon. Hope you get well soon. We could call him back Black Spider-Man or Kid. I feel the same way except with allergies. Yeah, I've had this bronchitis in my lungs since like the 9th. I don't like the doctors give me these pills that I have like 60 pills. They give me like 60 pills. And I'm supposed to take them like 3 times a day. And it's supposed to be like a cough suppressor. And I'm down to like I had like 60 at the start of this month on the 9th, and I'm down to like close to 20 now. And I typically like just take one like every few hours, and like the cough will go away. And sometimes it'll be away for a much long period of time, and then it'll just randomly like this come back. And I haven't had a pill yet because I've been talking to you guys. But yeah, this stuff I don't know how long it's supposed to last. Because I'm not sick. It's just this stuff is just still in my lungs and it hasn't left. Let's see. Where should I message you? Let's see. You can message me here. You can send it to me in the community. You can send it to me in comments. Or click any of my social media links that link you to either my Twitter or Facebook. Message me there. And if you have an idea, I'll be sure to keep it private. And I'll be sure to give you a shout when I get that video out. Thoughts on the Blade movie starring Wesley Snipes? I think that the first 2 are great. I think the first one is good. I think Blade 2 is amazing. Blade Trinity is not that good. But that's common with Marvel films at that point in time. It's like a lot of them just couldn't stick the landing. Like, look at this. Like X-Men. First X-Men film is great. First X-Men movie is really good. X-Men 2 is great. X-Men: The Last Stand, not a bad movie, but it kind of misses the mark. Spider-Man. First Spider-Man is great. Spider-Man 2 is amazing. Still in my top 5 favorite superhero films of all time. Screw Tom Holland. And then Spider-Man 3 isn't bad. It can't quite stick the landing very well. However, I would love for Tobey Maguire to come back and do another Spider-Man film. I would be totally for that. What do you think is the most underrated MCU film? I think it's underrated MCU film. I can't really think of any right now. No, that wasn't all that good. How much time we got? Another 15 minutes. Underrated? Maybe Ant-Man? The first one? I think that one's a little bit underrated. I'm not planning on seeing the next Ant-Man film. I haven't watched an MCU film in years. Yeah, the last one I ever saw was I forget what it was called. Infinity War? Yeah, that's the last MCU film I've ever seen. I didn't even see Endgame. And I didn't need to. I did not see Doctor Strange. I didn't see Spider-Boy and whatever film that they did to kind of bash on the other 2 Spider-Man that I knew was going to piss me off. I think they did like an Immortals, like Eternals film. I didn't see that one. Yeah, I'm just done with the MCU film in general. Divatox. Yes, that's her name. Yes, thank you. It just popped up on my screen. I just now saw it. Yes, Divatox. She does not get enough credit. She's the only Power Rangers villain to actually beat the Power Rangers. That's her name. I knew it had to start with a D. Thanks for bringing that up. Let's see. Let's see what else we got. Also, did you know that the Pink Sphinx Ranger did Jill? Really? I did not know that. That is so cool. Actually, that makes me want to go back and replay Resident Evil 5 or at least Jill's mission. I did not know that. Yeah, and I know she became a firefighter. But I did not know she did Jill. I know that Jason Font, who is the Red Time Force Ranger, he does the mocap for Leon in Resident Evil. So he did the mocap work. I know that. But wow, I did not know she did Jill. That is cool. I missed the second part of your question. Did you know that the producer that made Castlevania made the Devil May Cry? I knew that. I might have missed that, but I knew that. I love the Devil May Cry anime. Sucks they didn't do a second season. I would love them to do a second season of that. I thought the first season was great. I wasn't thinking she would want to be reminded of what Wesker did to her. I'm sure Jill wouldn't. Damn, this stuff is, dude. It's coming back hard. I just need like constant liquids now. I need to get like a pill or something. It's kicking in bad. Let's see. I know this question you probably get a lot, so feel free to skip it. But is there anything that you would? Okay, you know, I've been meaning to talk about this. Okay. One more sec. I need another drink. Hang on. Hang on. Hang on. Just getting some water. Okay. 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 The Versus series, you have to remember the reason the Versus series was stopped is because people weren't really watching it anymore. It was that simple. And the fact that I even said, I was like, listen, you guys get me to 80,000 subscribers, I'll do another season of the Versus series. The fact that that didn't happen showed that there really wasn't much of an interest. And even towards the end, there really was not an interest of the Versus series. And on top of that, I just don't have time anymore to do that. Like, I don't have the time. I mean, between working 2 different jobs, and I already have, like, I've so, like, much less time to game or even do anything extra. It would just be impossible to do the Versus series now. I mean, if I went back to like a 1-job schedule, I would have more time. But again, it's simply that there's not really an interest in the Versus series. And when you think about it, all the primary Versus series content creators that I used to watch, they don't really do that many Versus series anymore. I mean, Jin Sarai, I think he just uploaded like a mini version of it, but it's nowhere near as detailed as his older work. Grey Jedi doesn't do Versus series anymore. Evan Nova doesn't do Versus series anymore. Antoine Bedell doesn't do Versus series anymore. So I think that it's just a showing that there just is not an interest in the Versus series in general. Unless you do it like Death Battle, which I had stated in the last like 2 seasons, I had been actively looking for an animator, but I couldn't find one. Was just an example that there just is not much of an interest. And if I'm going to put that much time and effort into a certain video and I don't get the proper response back, that doesn't really give me like if you put a video and you see it's popular, you want to do more of it. But if you spend several days and sometimes even 2 to 3 weeks on a certain video and hardly anyone sees it, that's a sign that not a lot of people want to see it. I mean, it's kind of crazy to think that here I am, at almost 80,000 subscribers. I just reached 80 million overall channel views just a few days ago, and yet my channel struggles to get 100 views a video. That's just weird. I mean, you would think that with those kind of achievements, I would have passed the 100,000 subscriber goal a long time ago, but no, I'm still working towards that. So it's a little bit disheartening. But yeah, I think if there was just a higher interest in the Versus series, that would be enough to bring it back. But I don't think that there is at this point. All right, considering that both Sparta and Dante have swords with their namesakes, that's cool. I wish Virgil would get his own sword. Like, he's still using his where the hell is it? Oh, there it is. Yeah. Virgil is still using the Yamato, which is the last of Sparta's swords that remains, because you have to remember the Force Edge, the rebellion was destroyed, and Dante absorbed the rebellion and the Sparta into his body to form the Dante. So the Yamato is the last of Sparta's swords that still exists. And I kind of would figure that they would give Virgil his own sword and call it the Virgil, because there's such a strong connection between Devil May Cry and Inuyasha. And by the end of the original series of Inuyasha, you have to remember Shishomaru actually formed his own sword. That was completely just made for him. So yeah, I think that's something that they need. Alright, Smixy Summoner. Hello, it's been a while. How you doing? And someone just walked into the kitchen, as you guys know. And Blade 2 is also my favorite of the trilogy. Yeah, Blade 2 is still my favorite. Tony would be good if he was actually playing Spider-Man and not Tony's sidekick. I don't like Spider-Boy. He's basically Iron Man Jr., and everybody knows that. He doesn't feel like Spider-Man to me, which is why I don't call him Spider-Man. I call him Spider-Boy, or Iron Man Jr., because that's what he is. I know that there's a lot of people that are big fans of Tom, and that's fine. I know there's a bunch of kids that look up to Tom, and that's fine, but Tobey's my Spider-Man. And I think Andrew Garfield was just very, very underappreciated. Because I thought there was a lot of problems with The Amazing Spider-Man and The Amazing Spider-Man 2, but he certainly was not one of them. He was definitely one of the better parts of those films. Let's see. Thoughts on separating art from artists, like Rick and Morty guy or others like that? Yeah, I can do that. I can do that easily. There's a number of people that the person isn't all that great, but what they create is still awesome, and I still love it. Which action movie character do I like more? Terminator, John McClane, or Neo? Well, here's the problem. You can't really rank the Terminator, because which Terminator are you talking about? Because it's a different Terminator in every single film. You can't say that they're all one character. So you can't do that. John McClane was good, but he's not that great of a character in the last Die Hard film. And Neo's dead. So if I had to rank them, I would go John McClane, Neo, then Terminator, but only because there's multiple different Terminators. Speaking of Power Rangers, did I know that 3 Power Ranger cast members voice? Yes, I know that Adam, who was the Black Power Ranger in Mighty Morphin and was Green in Zeo and Turbo, he does the voice for Nero. I know that Dante, I know Virgil is Dan South. He was the Quantum Ranger. I hope to meet him one day, and I hope he'll actually sign my Yamato. Yes, I know that. I know that a number of Power Rangers went on to do voice acting for Devil May Cry. I think that's awesome. Next question comes from Rain. Which film do I personally think is better, Terminator 1 or Terminator 2? What? That's a debate? Between Terminator 1 and 2? Really? Okay, my little sister is just shaking my head like, yeah, she's like, what are they talking about? Really, a debate? Melissa, tell me something. Do you think there's a debate as for what's better, Alien or Aliens?
No, there's not.
I know there's not a debate. Aliens is the best.
Ever.
It's not even a debate. I can't even imagine. Alien is good, but I'm sorry, James Cameron beat the shit out of Ridley Scott when it came to Aliens. There's not even a debate. I can't believe people would even entertain that. Okay. Okay, these are the last couple of questions that I have on the list here, and I'll call the day because we're running out of time. But DMC is getting a new anime for Netflix, awesome, from the team that made Castlevania anime, and the one in Judgment Day. I've actually seen more people argue for Terminator 1 as of late. Really? I'm shocked about that, Rain. Okay. Well, with that, Rain, with that, we're going to cut it right there. We've gone for an hour and a half. I'm going to put up a poll in like 30 minutes asking how you guys want me to do the people's questions moving forward. Would you prefer I do it in like film style or live stream style? So the fact that we still have double-digit people watching is amazing. We still have 11 people watching. So I want to thank all of you guys. Drew, I love Die Hard 4. Are you kidding? That's my second favorite Die Hard film, under the first one. I go Die Hard 1, Live Free or Die Hard, Die Hard 3, Die Hard 2, and then we'll just ignore the last one. But dude, I really like Live Free or Die Hard. I really like that movie a lot. But again, I want to thank all of you guys for joining me for People's Questions episode 500. Hopefully I'll catch you guys next week. Remember, I'll post a poll in about 10 minutes, so you guys let me know how you guys want me to do the People's Questions moving forward. Whether we go back to using standard video or we do them live stream. So, like always, I want to thank you guys for watching. You're awesome, and I will catch you all guys next time.